County Government, and thanks for allowing us to gather here in the community. We pray for the citizens of Kirtland, and we watch over them throughout those communities. Pray for the health of Kirtlanders, especially Scottsdale. We pray this in your name.
Okay, we have the January 4th, 2023, first meeting of the year. Did the Pledge allegiance prayer, do we need, Mayor, we? Denise, roll call, please.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Here.
Mr. Hamer,
Here.
Mr. Lowry,
Here.
Mr. Rupel, Mr. Scholes,
Here.
Mr. Smolik,
Here.
Mr. Ziegler,
Here. We have a presentation of a mayoral proclamation. Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Councilman Smolik. Before we get going here, I just want to thank Mr. DeFranco, Eugene DeFranco, for being here tonight, but also for his investment and his investment, his reinvestment in the city as of late. But also, a lot of service work that people don't know has gone on over the years by Mr. DeFranco, using his own resources to fix football fields and baseball fields. So that's not exactly in the proclamation like that, but I wanted to make sure that, everybody knows that Eugene has been a tremendous part of this community. So I appreciate him coming out. And if you want to come on up, Mr. DeFranco.
Okay, this is a proclamation from the city of Kirkland for the Philadelphia. Whereas Philadelphia was and whereas since 1992, community development operated building motions out of the island. And whereas Philadelphia was moved to Kirkland in 1987, selling services to 50 out of the and whereas Eugene embraced the Kirkland community by donating time, supplies, service to 90 fiscal varsity football. And whereas the company has expanded considerably, selling local grass seed, lawn care, and landscape equipment. And whereas in 2022, Philadelphia was built open a 7,000 square foot facility. And whereas we continue striving to deliver superior customer service, superior customer service in the land we supply. Now, therefore, be resolved. Mayor Steve Griffin, we hereby congratulate Community Development and Philadelphia, achieving 12 business success, expanding their facilities and having a new investment in the community, and encouraging all their council plan to join with me now on the debate.
Much appreciated your investment in Kirtland. You guys have been there how long now? How long have you guys been in business for over there?
Store?
Even go back to our store.
90s.
90s.
Okay, next on the agenda, reading and approval of the minutes of December 19th, 2022 work session.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion to adopt from Councilman Schultz, second from Councilman Fenstermaker. Denise?
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Lowry,
Yes.
Mr. Scholes,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Okay, reading and approval of minutes of the December 19th, 2022 council meeting.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Schultz, second from Mr. Fenstermaker. Ms. Raleigh?
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Lowry,
Yes.
Mr. Scholes,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Okay, on to department reports. We got Chief Button here. Chief McAllister not going to be in today?
Chief McAllister has a family event tonight, so he's going to miss the meeting tonight.
Okay, very good. Chief Button?
Thank you, Mr. Smolik. I have no formal report tonight. I'll be able to provide statistics for the next meeting. I want to thank Mayor Potter. We did swear in 3 firefighters on December 28th, and all 3 are working right now in January. The last will be starting on January 28th. Okay, the other 2 did start this week. It's been awesome looking at our schedule going forward. Things look good. Very few open shifts. So I want to again thank the mayor and council for your support on that project. So thank you very much. Other than that, I'm open for any questions.
Any question from council? How was the holidays? Relatively quiet? Any activity?
Holidays were pretty good. Very cold. I'm sure Mr. Smolik will talk a little bit about the weather that we dealt with. Call volume was steady, but not as bad as we thought it would be with the wind and the trees and roads. Not that bad. I think the service department did a great job keeping the roads clear for all of us.
Yeah, I didn't hear too many accidents at all. It didn't seem.
Chief, I may catch you on the spot here, but in light of what just recently happened with the pro football individual, AEDs, do we have them in all of our public buildings? And again, I don't mean to catch you off guard if you don't have that answer, so you can address us later, but.
We have AEDs in all of our public buildings at the community parks. We have them outside at the community center, at the rec park. We do training for city employees for AEDs and hands-only CPR. We also do a lot of training with other groups. So there are AEDs all over.
Library?
I believe the library also has an AED, yes.
Any other questions for the chief? Thank you, Chief. Mr. Courtney?
Thank you, Mr. Smolik. Happy New Year, everyone. I have no formal report tonight. Happy to take any questions that anybody may have.
Any questions from council? Thank you, Mr. Courtney. Mr. Fernaro?
I'm going to be brief also. Good evening, everybody. We'll talk a little bit about the snow event. I'd like to thank our team. They did a great job working through the holidays. It was nonstop from Thursday to Monday. So our team did a great job. Thank you, Mr. Lowry, for jumping in a truck, getting a taste to see kind of what we do. So I appreciate you coming out and riding with us. A little facts going back to 20 and 2021. To date, we had 11 events that year. Last year, we also had 11 events up into January 4th. And you could guess it. This year, we're at 11 events. So pretty much steady all the way through. This year, we are about 200 tons over last year to date with salt usage. And that completes my report.
Just want to thank you for hosting that lunch in December. That was nice.
That kind of cold weather, Joe, how's the salt difficult to, does it start melting it right away, or is it a little difficult with that when it gets under zero?
So this will be my public service announcements. Whenever they talk about temperature and salt not working, they're giving you air temperature. Salt works off of pavement temperature. So when they talk about salt not working at zero, we go off of pavement temperature. So that pavement temperature has to be below zero, 10 below zero for salt to start not working. And then we start using our chemicals.
Thank you. I didn't get out at all on Friday, but Saturday, Sunday was perfect out there, so thank you much.
Joe, Mayor, thank you. And Joe, appreciate I had an opportunity to spend 4 hours with Joe in the 2.5-ton truck, I believe it was, 2 of them in the afternoon and 2 of them at dark. And I have to tell you, you make sure you commend your team and yourself. It's a tough job. The 1-ton pickup truck or the pickup truck that you use to plow your driveway, totally different than those big rigs. And the fact that the blinding snow is in your face and there's cars in your way and it's, freezing temperatures. I never would have imagined that it was as difficult as what it is. So, again, I commend you, your team, and make sure you tell your team quite an impressive job on a very difficult night with the temperatures the way they were. So I look forward to doing it again when we have a true storm also. But thanks again. So
How many cars did Mr. Lowry hit? Thank you, Mr. Fernaro.
Hold on. Mr. Fenaro, thank you for responding to my text prior to the meeting. Was that tree that came down, did our crews take care of that, or was that already taken care of by Kirtland Hills? Or I don't know exactly where it was at.
It was in our city.
Thank you much.
Any other questions? Mr. Lallo?
I don't really have a report or a voice today, so, but if you do have questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Matt, I have a question or a comment, and perhaps you could follow up with Mr. Lobe. Quite a while back, he filled in for you, and a question came up with, he was going to do some research on when HOAs dissolve. There's lands that are in the right of way. You don't need to answer it right now, obviously, because of your voice.
I'll follow up with him.
And once it dissolves, who takes ownership of that or management? Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Lallo? Teresa, would you have an update at all?
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. I have some numbers from last year that I wanted to share. Our membership numbers, we start accepting for the next year at the Senior Center on October 1st of the previous year. So from October 1st to, just to let everyone know, through December 30th, October 1st of 2021 to December 30th of 2022, we had a total, we started with 0, we had a total of 637 members. Out of those new residents, we had 104 brand new residents who had never been members of the Senior Center and 160 non-residents that joined us as well. So lots of new faces down at the Senior Center. We invite you to come down and check it out at any time. We also have our numbers from the year. We report our activities to the county because we do get funding from them, as Mr. Slapnicker has previously mentioned. On average, we have about people doing about 95 activities a day. So one person could be doing 3 different activities, but at least 95 a day is our average throughout the entire year. Some months it's more, some months it's less. So it's always pretty busy down at the Senior Center, but it's been a fun year. We're looking forward to this one. I also wanted to thank everyone who was part of the Random Acts of Kindness in December. Thank you to the councilman who donated to that. We had a different random act and a different sponsor every day throughout the month of December. January's been a lot less free stuff for the seniors, so I think they're a little sad about it, but they really appreciated all of the contributions from around the community. Countless hours were spent with some of this stuff, as well as we counted probably between $1,500 and $2,000 were donated to our seniors just to make their Decembers a little bit brighter. So it was a lot of fun for us. Thank you for your support. And thank you, Mr. Ziegler, for coming and challenging our seniors in a pickleball tournament. I believe you lost twice to them. Is that right? To the same team, right? Yeah. Okay. But thank you for being a good sport about that. And I am open for any questions.
For the record, I did give them some help.
Any other questions for Ms. Zeri? Thank you, Teresa. And to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Smolik. Hope everyone had a great holiday season. I think to Joe's point and to Mr. Lowry's point, a big thank you is needed for our service department and what they did. You know, being away from your family on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and everything that leads up to it in some pretty tough conditions. So thanks to them, thanks to our police, thanks to our fire for keeping our roads safe and our people safe here in our community. As Chief Hutton said, did have the opportunity to swear in those 3 new full-time firemen just last week. So thank you to Chief Hutton for having me part of that ceremony. be part of that ceremony, as well as to Mrs. Hutton for the cake she brought. Last week, I sent everyone an email about a significant grant award that we received through Congressman Joyce's office. So I made sure, so that $820,000 grant for the Old Town Sewer Project goes a really long way for those folks over there. Knocks about, what do we figure, Doug, about $6,300 off per benefit unit per household. So I had that grant written up, working with Congressman Joyce's office to make sure that the wording was right, that the partnerships needed for endorsement were right. So again, thanks to everybody for their hard work on that. Obviously, we're into 2023 now. I'm certainly looking forward to the year for a lot of reasons. Just here in a couple weeks, we'll be completing the comprehensive plan. So at the P&Z Monday night meeting, Ms. Demetrio will be back at that meeting in the work session. And then on our January 18th meeting, our council meeting, I think after that meeting, am I correct, Denise and Mr. Lalla, that we're going to have our joint meeting? So hopefully at that, or not hopefully, at that meeting, and we'll make sure everyone gets a copy well in advance of that, as Dion has a chance to dot I's and cross T's, so we can have a good discussion, I'm hoping, that night about the comp plan. So also looking forward to, our budget season. Mr. Slapnicker is not here tonight. He's got a lot of end of year financials, as you can imagine, to sew up and tie up. So of course, when he mentioned that he might be more useful and effective if he was off-site and working, and that's what he's doing tonight. So we'll start to see some numbers here over the course of the next couple of weeks, I imagine. And then with that, we'll start talking about our budget and talking about capital plan and talking about what, modest but hopefully impactful road program we can still have this year. So, good stuff, good conversations coming our way. And back to Eddie Eckert, did spend last Friday and this past Monday, so I think Friday afternoon and then Monday morning, Eddie was here and we were meeting, talking about, different economic development potential opportunities, talking about some of the resources that could be existing at our disposal, or in the future, we might need to have further conversations related to attracting more business here. So, and then it came with about an hour-and-a-half car ride around the city as well. So I appreciate Eddie coming out on a couple of days where a lot of people had off. So, and then speaking of economic development, tonight we do have, and I'll let him tell a story when we get to the public comments on matters not on the agenda, but we do have Mr. Wagner, Frank Wagner, who I think everybody knows. He and his wife run a phenomenally successful business over here in Kirtland, down the block, and they're looking to expand their presence in Kirtland. And he will tell you the name of the restaurant. It's Casa Rosa. So Frank's going to be here to talk a little bit about an economic development transfer form as it relates to a liquor license that he's going to be able to obtain. So we'll let him tell that story a little bit, but really I just wanted him, and actually I think I put up, I put printouts for all of you up there to just kind of scan through that document, what it looks like, and then, after Mr. Wagner has a chance to talk a little bit about the project coming forward here in Kirtland, we'll go ahead and make sure we help him in any way we can to get him moving along. So with that, I am open for questions.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions for the mayor? Okay. Standing committee reports. I believe we don't have any standing committees currently scheduled or that we've had recently. Economic, or was that a finance last time, Matt? Yeah. No standing committee report. I don't see any correspondence in front of me. Okay. Public comments on matters not on the agenda. This time we open up to the. You can state your name and address, please.
Sure thing. My name is Barbara Nye. My address is 10452 Briar Hill Road in Kirtland, Ohio, of course. Sorry. Given. I thank you very, very much for your time this evening. I'm hoping that this is the right forum to bring my concerns. I was initially going to talk to my ward general person here, and I just felt that my family, we just decided that it was more of just not a ward issue. It was, we felt it's kind of citywide possible concerns. So I've never done this ever before, so I'm not really sure if I'm giving you the right information or what have you. But first of all, I've lived in Kirtland for since 1999 on Markel Road, and then over to Briar Hill downsizing. And I have to highlight Chief Hutton has been to our home many times, so we're very, very grateful. I have a husband with a really bad heart and an elderly aunt who fell a lot. But so I on behalf of our family, I'd like to thank you so very, very much. You guys are always on the spot and very, very helpful. And we've been very, very appreciative of all that you've given to the city and to our family. That's been, up until just recently, that's been our experience with city services, you know. And just recently in October, early October, and then again in December, we have had our first experiences with the police department. And so I bring concerns about the process that we've gone through and the experience that we've had with the police department and the issues that we face. The first one was in October. We were a victim of identity theft to the tune of $70,000 to $80,000. And we filed police report and were assigned with an officer. And the gentleman was very, very professional, very nice, very caring, concerned, what have you, took the report. But then from there, we had, because he's part-time, whenever, like I said, we live a very quiet life, very law-abiding citizens. We've never been involved in anything criminal before. So this was our first experience, and very intimidating, frightening, upsetting. And so we had lots of questions. And whenever we would think of questions, we would try to contact the police officer, and either, you know, he wasn't on. If we would leave, like we tried to say, well, okay, if he's not on today, can you let me know when he's going to be on so I can call when he's on? And the response from the dispatch was, you know, we don't publicize officer schedules. And so it was just very, very difficult because we had an awful lot of dealings with all the credit card companies, all the banks. They all want information from the police department to validate the identity theft and the investigation and such. So it was very, very difficult to get in touch with the officer. You know, we would leave messages and there would be 2 or 3 days would go by before we would hear back, because once again, because the officer was part-time. So we had very, very difficult times trying to alleviate, like I said, our fears, trying to get things, you know, answered questions. People kept asking us in the credit card department if the account was, or the case was closed. I don't even know if it's closed. A lot of people had asked us for the police report. I have no idea if there's a police report that's available. So I just found that, that if we wanted information about the progress and what was going on, we had to call. You know, nobody ever called us and said, well, this is where we are in the investigation, this is what you need, you know, these are next steps. So it's very, as somebody, like I said, law-abiding citizen, never ever been, like I said, need for lots of use for the fire department, not the police department. We were very, very frustrated. Like I said, and obviously it's totally emotional when you've got, like I said, $70,000 of, you know, where somebody in Florida is, you know, going to using your Uber Eats and your PayPal and Nordstrom's, and they're going to Louis Vuitton. And so it was just very upsetting to us that we couldn't get to the people that we needed when we needed, you know what I mean, when we needed them. So that's a very, very big concern, is the availability of the police department, and that there was nobody that we could call centrally, you know what I mean, to get an update on where we were, other than from the officer. And it was hit or miss whether we could get in touch with them.
Ms. Nye, During all of this, have you tried to reach out to Chief McAllister directly?
No, like I said, I don't know what the protocol is. We don't know what the procedures are. That's why we, like I said, we've never experienced this, so we weren't sure who we should talk to. I guess we probably should have called the chief, but like I said, we just thought, okay, they're part-time, and we weren't going to necessarily do anything. You know what I mean? We're just going to make our roll with the punches. Then in December, we have a special needs son. His name is Jimmy. He's on autism spectrum. I'm sorry if I get teary here. He lives over in the apartments right over here. And we found that one of his caregivers had physically abused him.
Ma'am, one sec. What's your last name?
Nye. Yeah.
I think you just called me today.
Yesterday.
Okay, yesterday. I've been ill and everything.
So anyway, so that with that, we found out, like I said, that our son had been abused in the apartment. Like I said, one of his caregivers. I'm sorry. Just was too rough. I mean, something was taken. His communicator was taken away from him. He kind of did a little graze, and then he grabbed him and threw him up against the refrigerator, and they threw him to the floor, and so he had major bruising around. He wears glasses, so eyes and abrasions on his head and whatever. So now we have our second experience with the police department in a matter of a month and a half, 2 months. Now we're knocking on the police department's door because we have our son who's, like I said, nonverbal, special needs, who's been abused. So once again, once we got the police met us in the emergency room, we met with the nurse, whatever, and the officer in the emergency room stated to us that were there that within 24 to 48 hours that this guy would be in jail. They had said, fortunately we had a video in his apartment, so fortunately we got some of the attack on videotape. So the officer felt that we had, just with the video itself, that, we had obviously probable cause. So we're thinking in our heads, once again, 24 to 48 hours, and it didn't, we're still today, and the guy's still out and about. So once again, we're having major, and this is even worse than the identity theft because it's our son. Like, my worst nightmare as a mother of a special needs child. My worst nightmare, that, somebody would take advantage of him. And so it was even more emotional, more traumatic than the identity theft. And we had difficulty again getting in touch with the police. Once the report was taken, they did do, I guess they called his school, and they did the investigative process. But once again, we were never given the process, the procedures, next steps, where do we go? Like I said, we're totally in the dark. And it was just very, very frustrating once again to have a part-time. And once again, the officers have been great and wonderful. The issue is that they're part-time, at least the ones that we had. And when they work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., it's very, very difficult, once again, to get them on the phone or to get her on the phone to find out, okay, what's going on? Where are we? What do we do? What are next steps? So that was just very, like I said, it's been a very, very frightening process because nobody told us after the emergency room visit with the police department what was next. Who's going to call, who's going to, where to go, all that kind of stuff. So there was no explanation to us. Once again, Joe Smith, citizen, law-abiding citizen, we have no idea. So we're hearing felonies, we're hearing arrest warrants. I'm Googling, my husband's Googling, everybody's, so we're very, very much in the dark. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what our rights were. We didn't know what his rights were. We got no updates at all unless we called. And I have to tell you, and I wish she was here, but Amy Buchanan has been a phenomenal, phenomenal resource for us. I know she's an administrative assistant, but she, like every other day when we would call for an update, she would tell us, exactly, what was going on, what was happening, what are the next steps, did they arrest them? No, they didn't. Do they have, whatever, the whole process. So she has been very, very helpful. But once again, nobody called us and said, okay, this is what's first, next, whatever. We called. We had to instigate, to get information. We have, once again, no news on the progress. We have no calls from, we're supposed to be, I guess there's a prosecutor that's been assigned. I have no idea who that is. So we have nothing from when does the prosecutor get involved? Once again, I have no idea. We found out once again through, I Googled Willoughby, Paynesville, trying to find him on the Paynesville court docket. And Amy was very helpful and said, it's not Paynesville, it's Willoughby. So we found out about the court date and arraignment through Amy. And because we wanted to be there. And obviously we weren't going to say anything or do anything, but we just wanted to be there for Jimmy, in support of him. So we went, I took off work, my daughter took off for work, got there to the court, and they had done something called a continuance of some sort. So we got there, and it was a huge waste of time because we had, because they put a continuance of some sort into the process. So now it's rescheduled for another day. So, so there's no information about the court dates, the court process. I have no idea what the charges are. I don't know if we have any input on the warrant. Once again, I'm very upset that this guy is still out and about. Evidently, they let him go on his own recognizance. He beat my 21-year-old special needs kid up, and they let him out on his own recognizance. So that, like I said, we had no input on bond, whatever the process is. And once again, Amy Buchanan, I can't say enough about Amy. So my point is that I'm asking, number one, for some sort of person who could advocate for the victims in Kirtland. I know we're a small little town. I know it doesn't happen a lot, but there are more citizens out there like me in Kirtland that have no idea about the legal process and how a case, goes through the system. And there's been nobody in Kirtland or the police department that's helped us. I did find out about Lake County has a victims advocacy program, but that doesn't start until the perpetrator is through the municipal system and into the next level. The state of Ohio is going to be prosecuting this young man because he's a special citizen, or he's a protected citizen or protected class of citizens. So the state of Ohio is going to be prosecuting. But once again, I found that out on my own. So I'm asking the council to please get somebody on staff who could be available in the police department that could answer questions, help people through the process so they know where to go, what to do, what the next steps are. So I'm asking for a victim advocate position, possibly, especially since our police department members are part-time. You know what I mean? And they're not always available to answer questions. So I just ask, since we've been through this now twice in a very, very short amount of time, like I said, we were just going to let it go with the identity theft. But when we're having the same issues with our son's assault that we were in the identity theft, that's when I decided to bring it to all of you. To let you know that this is what the normal citizen of Kirtland goes through when something legally bad happens to them. And like I said, you don't always want to trust Google and the internet for your information. So.
Well, Ms. Nye, I just want to thank you for bringing it up. And I know it's emotional and hard to talk for. So thank you for bringing it to our attention. I know those gentlemen are gonna start queuing up, so we're gonna sit back and let them. But I want to thank you for bringing it up to our attention.
Like I said, we have a wonderful, wonderful community, and I do appreciate all the services that we have here. But I just think that this is a pretty big, I don't want to say big gap, but I think that there's a need for a victims or somebody to answer the calls other than Amy, because she's busy doing all of her other stuff that she has to do. So anyway, thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Nye. Ms. Nye, generally, like I say, I've had fantastic experience with the police department here, so I don't know if there was a miscommunication. I'm not doubting what you're saying, but feel free to, call your councilman. Also, if you're having any issues, maybe I can help a little bit with that. But generally, police department's been very, very responsive. I haven't heard anything like this, this before. So, but thank you for coming and bringing this up, though. Appreciate it.
Like I said, I wasn't real sure what to do or where to go. So I thought, well, okay, I'll come to you guys and see if you could help me. Thank you. Because once again, I thought about you and I thought, well, it's not just our ward. It's got to be other people in Kirtland who have to deal with these kinds of things.
So Barb, or Mrs. Nye, I should call you in
Barb
this
is
setting.
fine.
So number one, I'm terribly sorry that any of this, either one of these instances, happened to you and your family. I can't imagine myself. So preface all of this by saying that. And it's no surprise that Amy has been wonderful, right? She's a dedicated not only resident here in the city, but obviously a dedicated member of our police department. So we're very lucky to have her. When Chief McAllister came in here a little over a year ago, a big part of our discussion since then is the community policing aspect, right? Immersing ourselves in the community, making sure that we're, great customer service, all of those things. Our police department is, I think, at this point, I think we only have one part-time officer, but why it probably feels like we're part-time because people have rotating shifts, right? They work 12-hour shifts, so they're not exactly part-time, but it probably feels like that if you're trying to figure out what someone's schedule is and what days or nights that they might in fact be in. The question was asked if you'd reached out to the chief. I know that in certain instances, this chief has been incredibly responsive, so just know that is always a resource for you. As well as myself, and I think Mr. Smolik's been doing this long enough. He's a great advocate too for our community. So you're well supported, and there's just no question that the concerns you bring up here tonight. I think we'll have a good conversation with the chief tomorrow. Unfortunately, he wasn't here tonight. Kind of
Just been my luck.
yeah, that's a coincidence. Sure is a coincidence because he's always here. But anyhow, so again, I'm super, just really sorry for everything you've been through, and well heated conversation tonight from you. So thank you.
And once again, I that's why we thought as a family that we should come to council because we're asking for an advocate, like a victim's advocate. So I figured that obviously that has to have council. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the chief can bring one in without, with.
That would be part of a budget process to.
Oh, it is?
To have that, yeah.
Essentially, we're all, as councilmen, we're all advocates for our citizens. So we can get you the right people, put you in touch with the right.
Okay. Okay. All right.
As it stands right now, there's a victim advocate for victims of domestic violence. So like Forbes House comes in and they offer victim advocate services on behalf of them. But what also happens is there's a new law that was passed, I think, in 2018 called Marcy's Law. It's actually part of the, I think, Ohio Constitution now, or an amendment to it. And what that does is it provides victims the right to know about proceedings and everything along those lines. And there's certain cards or pamphlets that the police department can give out. One of the things that I was doing as you were talking is I was queuing some of those up so that I could have a conversation with our officers to make sure they have them on them at any time that there is a victim. Say, hey, these are your rights. This is what you have a right to know. Certain times we can't give you certain information because it's in the investigatory process. But you don't know that, and that's a fair statement. A common thing that I would tell people is if the officer isn't working or if you need an answer right away, ask for a supervisor. Those sergeants, they'll be able to help you out immediately. And again, it's something you don't know to ask for, so I don't blame you or fault you or anything like that. But I would be more than happy to talk about your son's case offline, okay? And the process and how everything shakes out and how you and I will be in communication throughout that process, okay? Because without a victim advocate, it does, like, once the case is filed in court and the person pleads not guilty, or if it's set for a preliminary hearing, that's when I get involved in it. And that's when I have to reach out to the victims, talk to the victims, see what's going on, and let you all know about what the process is from that point forward. Okay.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying is that Lake County and that advocacy hits when it's done with the first level of the court system.
If it's a
I'm
felony
asking for
case?
like right away, the day we were taken in the emergency room, it would have been nice to have an advocate to say, these are next steps. I definitely understand that there is one
Understood.
after the fact, but like I said, we wanted to be at the arraignment.
Yeah.
And we found out about it, like I said, accidentally. You know what I mean? So that's important to us, to be there for him and to advocate for him through the entire process. And, that's where I'm saying is that it would have been nice to have somebody in Kirtland or somebody part-time, whatever, just walking us through. Matt will be calling you, or or so
Exactly. What's the process, right?
Right.
Yes.
And like I said, this happened on December 8th, and we're still not at an advocate yet in the process. We still don't have an advocate, so we're we are advocating for ourselves as best we can. And so I'm asking the council. Yeah.
So the role of the victim advocate is to be your voice in the courtroom when the time is appropriate. And to walk you through the process, right? So that's what the role of the victim advocate is, and to help tie you into different organizations if you need it. So when it gets to the common pleas court, that's when there's going to be more interaction with the judge and the court with the victim at that point. So it's a longer process, yes, but I can explain it to you more, especially tailored to your case, outside of YouTube Live and everything. Okay.
And once again, within 24 to 48 hours, as a family, we expected this guy to be behind bars. Okay, that was on December 8th, 9th, 10th, wherever it was when they were told us that within 24 to 48. And here we are, January, whatever, 3rd, 4th, 5th. And he's still out and about. So, you know what I mean? So anyway, so that's.
There was an investigation that had to. Understood.
But I really think that we need some, like I said, I feel I've been through it twice now, unfortunately, in a very short amount of time. And I just feel that would be maybe volunteers. I don't know if you could probably even do that, but just, have somebody help us walk through the stuff other than Amy, like I said. And we just bounced on Amy just once again, we found her accidentally once again. So. But thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and all that you do for Kirtland. Like I said, we wouldn't be here for 20 years if we didn't love our community and the people that serve it. So thank you very, very much.
Ms. Nye, if you could stick around, I'll be more than happy to talk to you after this meeting. Okay.
You feel enough to
Ms. Nye, thanks again for coming in.
Thank you.
And Ms. Nye, going forward, if you do have any issues with communication, the Kirtland website does have Chief McAllister's number with the extension that you could leave a message with at any time. My number, that's my cell number's on there. Also, feel free to call anytime also, okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Mayor's number's on, everybody's number's there, so if you need to get a hold of anybody, feel free. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Probably should have asked you this. There are good questions.
Will,
Name and address.
Frank Wagner, 8357 Sherman Road, Chesterland, Ohio. I've been here a few times now. We're in the process of, I'll start off, I'll backtrack. I own down the block over here, the little restaurant, takeout place. And we're in the process of building a new restaurant, actually right across the street. It's going to be called Casa Rosa Cucina. We just received our permits for demolition. We're starting to work on the building and convert the house over to a restaurant. And during the process, we applied for liquor licenses. And as you may or may not know, in the city of Kirtland, you're at your quota already. So we hired a service that goes out and finds a liquor license in other communities, and they work to transfer the license over. So we're in that process now. and we have fill out some preliminary paperwork. And the initial paperwork saying that we're basically letting you know that we're in the process of looking at a license. And the company's looking for who's the mayor, who's the law director, who's the finance. I can't remember all the questions per se, but I believe you all have a copy of it. It's by no means saying you're agreeing to give me a license or you're saying I have one. It's just the company wants to know that you're aware that I am applying for this application to get a liquor license to get transferred to Kirtland, Ohio. It's going to be a fine dining establishment. We're putting in about $800,000 to $1 million into the facility, in renovations and property and everything. It should generate about $80,000 to $100,000 in new sales tax revenue from the liquor and the eat-in, plus other revenue from 10 to 12 new employees that we plan on hiring. Plus, we're going to help hopefully beautify the city here. And we're going to take a property that's, I'm going to say, a little dilapidated and give it a facelift. Today, they're actually putting in the new windows. We already put a new roof on. We have the permit now to fix the garage and convert that to the kitchen. So the process has begun. And now I'm starting to get nervous because I need to get a liquor license. So to move forward, I'm just asking if you would consider filling out this paperwork or giving the approval to fill it out, saying that you know I'm doing this. You're okay that I'm doing this. You're not agreeing to give me a license or agreeing to anything. You're just aware that this is going on. And I'm sure Mr. Lab will be able to elaborate further on that than me.
That's
I don't know the legality.
No, I actually did research from the time I emailed Ms. Raleigh, and there's no need for an act of counsel on this. It's a preliminary issue that just needs to go forward. So similar to the renewals that we have, so long as there's no objections, we could give the green light on this because we'll have another time down the road.
And you can start thinking about approving a license when I get it.
Frank, when you planning on opening it approximately?
We are hoping for May 1st. That is the plan. We're going to open with or without the liquor license because that may take a while. There's other things in the state of Ohio and a transfer of the other communities that beyond us, everybody in this room. So we think we'll be ready by then. It's ready to go. We're just waiting now once the kitchen's approved and the Geauga County Food Service has to come in and approve the kitchen setup. Once they do that, we could really start moving. But the shell is, I'm going to say, it's going to be done this week, and we can start working on the inside. Yes.
Mr. Wagner, pardon me.
Please.
What do you expect your signature dish to be? Have you looked at the menu yet instead of construction plans?
We have a couple. I hired a professional chef, actually. He's from Hyde Park. He used to run the Hyde Parks. He was the chef. So the name of the place will be Casa Rosa Cucina. It's been a Red House forever. Red House Kitchen will be underneath it. So it will be a Rosa chicken veal dish, probably. That would probably be the signature one, but there'll be quite a few things. It's going to be a little more white tablecloth, but casual. We're not going to be a suit and tie. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be white tablecloth, nicer shrimp, steaks, chops, wine. And it's right across the street, so you can walk there after the meetings.
I've been following it through the P&Z. You've been in the planning and zoning a couple times too, and the plans look very, very nice on that. Mr. Lallo, generally, how does it work with the city with the liquor license? We have do we have 6 on-premise licenses currently, I believe, active in the city? And then I believe 4 or 5 carry-offs?
I don't know the answer to that one off the top of my head. It's with the Division of Liquor Control. I know that. I apologize. I don't have that.
So I don't know what
Should it be an issue, Mr. Lallo, if he goes about getting, or do you have to wait to see?
Well, he's getting, it's a D5 that you're trying to get, I believe, aren't you? And then that has to be transferred in from a different jurisdiction. So there's only X amount that are available and allocated.
Okay.
So the Kirtland is already full. I know that. So they've already reached their allocation, but what they can do is that because there's economic development going on, and the city is acknowledging that there's economic development going on, that it can be transferred from another jurisdiction that's not using it or that doesn't need it to this one.
And then like Mr. Wagner said, you know, come the day that it's before council, right, as a transferred license, council does obviously have the option to ask questions at that point, but, you know,
Once I have the license or have the access to it, it comes before everybody in this room, and then you have to approve it.
so,
This is just, they need to know that you're aware, because if you're not aware and you don't care, then I can't move forward, so that's why I'm at.
I'm looking forward to it. I wish you best luck adding that also.
Oh, thank you.
yeah, thanks for reinvesting in the city. And,
No, I'm looking forward to it. It's been great so far, so hopefully this will be a step up, and I really do believe this is going to actually bring more traffic into Kirtland. There's a lot of people that come to this town for a lot of things, and people will come there and eat, and they will stop at the local bars, they will stop at the local stores, they will go to the local bakery, the ice cream shop, they will spend more money, I believe, and
I'm a big proponent. You look at any good area, they've got multiple restaurants, multiple bars, and they generally feed off of each other. It works
yes,
very well.
I'm looking forward to competition. I wish there was Tavern would open back up in a few other places, because that actually does bring in more people.
And I also want to thank you for, you know, adhering to the process, right? To contacting me from the earliest days. I think I don't even know if the ink was dry yet on the property when we first talked about this, but then coming over and talking to Ms. Rowley and Mr. LeConte and getting that direction of what to do next. And you've just, you know, and then coming before planning and zoning. So you've done all the right things. So we really appreciate that. And again, thanks for reinvesting here in Kirtland. Look
You're
forward to.
welcome. We want to do the right things. It's just, it's a time-consuming process. You guys don't move so fast. It's not you. The whole process, dealing with the county and everybody and engineering and the outside engineering staffs and the civil.
We'll get the form signed. We'll get the form signed.
So,
I can't stress enough also, thank you. Thanks for the investment
Thank
into
you, guys.
Kirtland.
Questions?
Thanks again, sir. Any other public comments on the, let's see, what was it? Public comments on matters not on the agenda? Okay, to old business, which there is none. New business. Any public comments on the agenda items of new business today? And there is only one. Okay, no comments? Okay, with that, resolution number 23R-1, a resolution declaring intent to conduct an internet auction for the sale of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit personal property of the city of Kirtland and declaring an emergency. Any questions? Okay, yeah. Do we need this, go to a second reading with it then?
We just can't auction off your car, Mr. Smollett, until you approve this.
We got any,
That is
got
city
any needed
property,
equipment
right?
going out at all? Is there any list of it yet? I regret, I wanted to buy the old fire truck about 5-6 years ago and I missed out on that one, so. Okay, any council comments? Any continuing concerns? An adjournment? Motion for,
I'd like to talk about, I want to have a utilities meeting. I'd like to set a utilities meeting for this Saturday at 8 a.m. to talk about culvert, pipes, sewers, lakes, packaging plants, and ponds.
we'll need to get that in tomorrow, correct, for the proper?
Mr. Hamer, any way you could do it the following Saturday? I'm not going to be around. I'd like to be in attendance for that.
Just this one time.
So it would be Saturday, the 14th at 8 a.m. And then, Ms. Rowley, do you have the listing that he gave?
I think I would need a little more clarification on that.
Okay.
Sorry, we were looking at the January 14th Saturday, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
At what time, Scott?
You said utilities. Now you're, Mr. The power goes out quite a bit. 306 Shore Coffee Road, the internet. Is there anything that's the city could do about that, or contact the aluminum company or anything? I mean, it goes out, especially in the plaza. I mean,
So-
we're located right now down the block in that market, and I know north of the high school and then south, they go out quite often.
So, Mr. Wagner, yeah, we just had a conversation with Ms. Zalay from First Energy, our liaison to First Energy, just last week about that very issue. So she's going to get back to me with you know, what they're seeing on their end.
You could see the one transformer across the Lakes Park over there, and that's a different grid than I am, was split down the middle.
Yeah, I noticed you were.
Lakes Park, you know what's going
Oh, you know, a specific transformer you see the issue with, right? Okay.
on. For Mike's, for mine, it's right next to our building, but for
Okay.
some reason, they split the grid right down the property, we're the same land, same lot, but we're in different grids.
It's interesting. Until you bring that up, generally they won't change transformers until they go. It's funny. I spoke with the guy years ago with my shop. We have a 3-phase. We have a 480 coming in, and we had a bunch of them blow when we were first here in Kirtland. I asked the gentleman from First Energy, I go, so you guys keep a big store? You got 10, 15, 20 of these in a warehouse? He's like, no, we go to Pennsylvania and buy them when we need them. I'm like, really? Figure they would have kept more, you know, keep that on hand a little bit more. So they generally don't change.
When you call them, they know the problem. They know right away what you're dropping. So
Well, hopefully they get on that right away then, sir. Thank you. Thanks again for coming in. With that, we have a 114 meeting 8 a.m. for utilities related to, what was it again, Scott?
Sewers, lakes, ponds, packaging plants, and culverts.
Good with that, Ms. Raleigh?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, a motion to adjourn from someone?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye, second.
Aye.